At age 29, I was everything my parents had hoped for. On paper, a stable job in tech, a title that looked good on LinkedIn, a life that seemed on track. But the truth? I woke up every day feeling like I was living someone else's dream. Didn't hate my job, but didn't love it either. I just existed in it, answering emails, surviving meetings, checking boxes. Then one morning, sitting in traffic, I saw a kid skateboarding past my car, headphones in, smiling to himself. And for no reason at all, I felt this wave of something hit me. Jealousy. That was the first red flag. How could I be jealous of someone with no future plan? Unless deep down I was starting to realize I didn't really have one either. That same night, I sat alone on the floor of my apartment and asked myself, if my parents weren't watching, would I still be doing this? That question cracked something open in me. Because for the first time, I realized that every milestone I was chasing, the job, the salary, the apartment, the image, had nothing to do with me. They were all survival choices. Ways to keep up, fit in, make them proud. But none of it made me feel alive. Over the next few weeks, more questions flood my heart. Not the casual ones, but deep, surgical questions. The kind that rips the mask off. The kind that make you pause mid-scroll, mid-meeting, mid-life, and whisper, whose story am I really living? I wrote down 7 of them. Each one confronted a lie I'd quietly accepted, some of which are that stability equals success. That pleasing your parents means you're doing it right, that if your job pays well, it must be your purpose. Answering those 7 questions didn't give me clarity overnight. It gave me truth, the raw kind that stings at first, but ultimately sets you free. This video isn't motivational fluff. It's the map I wish I had when I was chasing goals I didn't question, following paths I didn't choose, and slowly becoming someone I didn't even like. If you've ever asked, is this all there is? What if I'm climbing the wrong ladder? Would I still be here if I wasn't afraid to disappoint them? Then this video was made for you. These are the 7 questions that changed my life, and maybe, just maybe, they'll change yours. 2. The first question I asked myself was, what am I pretending not to know? I stared at the glowing screen, another email marked urgent, another meeting invite, another day of pretending. Everyone at work called me the go-to guy. Reliable, calm under pressure, a rising star. But deep down, I felt like a skilled actor in a script I never auditioned for. One Tuesday afternoon, my manager praised me for stepping into leadership. But that same night, alone in my apartment, I Googled how to quit my job when it looks perfect on the outside. I wasn't just lying to my boss, my team, or my family. I was lying to myself every time I said, I'm fine. Every time I reposted motivational quotes I didn't believe, every time I pushed down the gut feeling that whispered, this isn't who you are. I was pretending not to know the truth, that I was burnt out, that I hated the work, that this version of success I was living wasn't my own. The wake-up call came when I was in my thoughts, and it dawned on me at that moment that pretending is exhausting. It robs one from clarity, courage, and time. Then I made a decision that I stopped journaling what I wanted to feel and started writing down what I already knew but feared admitting. Within a week, the fog lifted. I didn't need another plan. I needed honesty. That's when my healing began. The second question that haunted me for long was, whose approval am I still chasing? By age 29, I had everything my parents wanted for me. A 6-figure job in fintech, glowing LinkedIn endorsements, and a reserved seat at every industry event. But every night, as I loosened my tie in front of the bathroom mirror, the same thought echoed in my chest. Why don't I feel proud of myself? I tried everything, promotion, side hustles, posting motivational captions, but nothing filled the void. Until one day, during a team presentation, a senior partner said, "Your dad must be proud." And something snapped in me. I hadn't spoken to my father in 2 years. Our last real conversation ended with my dad saying, "Fintech? That's solid, unlike your brother's creative nonsense." That moment made me realize I wasn't working for purpose or passion. I was chasing a nod, a handshake, a well done that never came. Whose approval am I still chasing? That question wrecked my soul again the second time as I meditated on it. I wrote the question on a sticky note and placed it on my desk. Every decision I made now had to pass that test. I took a 2-week break, disconnected from LinkedIn, and asked myself what I actually wanted. I started writing again. Something I gave up in college to be practical. I enrolled in a storytelling course, anonymous. No one knew. 2 months later, I said no to a big promotion, not because I was quitting, but because I was finally beginning to actually live. Not for likes, not for praise, but for peace. Another soul-searching question that resonated in my heart in my early days was, who do I blame when things go wrong? At age 28, I had just spent 3 sleepless weeks preparing for a job switch. I needed it, not just for growth, but to feel like I was finally taking control of my life. The interview went okay, but the rejection? It felt personal. I blamed the interviewer, then HR, then my resume writer, and my current job for not preparing me. Even my ex came to mind, how she never believed in my ambition. And as the excuses piled up, so did the tension. That night, staring at the ceiling, something broke inside me. Not in anger, but in clarity. Who do I blame when things go wrong? I whispered it out loud. And for the first time, I didn't hear a list of names. I heard silence. Because deep down, I knew. I delayed updating my portfolio. I never practiced. Mock interviews. I ignored feedback that could have helped, and the worst of all, I expected a big change without changing anything. But then reality dawned on me that I needed to change my attitude to life. From that moment, I stopped outsourcing accountability. I didn't wallow, I owned it. I created a feedback folder on my desktop, not to obsess, but to study myself. I reached out to the recruiter, asked for honest feedback, and thanked them for it. I signed up for a public speaking boot camp, something I always dodged, and I set a 90-day personal growth plan, not to prove anything to anyone, but to rebuild confidence from the inside out. As success became evident due to the change of behavior and attitude to life and work, an invisible demon crippled as its shadow, and that is self-exaltation. I had always said what I would never do, but a thought flashed in my consciousness. During our annual end-of-the-year party, which led to my 4th soul-searching question, have I become who I promised I'd never be? I used to laugh at guys in suits who talked more than they listened, who equated job titles with identity, who'd rather look impressive than be real, guys whose success have made them an orator and motivational speaker overnight. But that night, at the rooftop cocktail party, as I casually name-dropped brands, filtered my opinions to fit the room, and swallowed my discomfort to maintain my image, a younger version of me screamed inside, and for the first time, I couldn't unhear. It! Have I become who I promised I'd never be? Echoes repeatedly in my mind. It hit me hard, not like a crash, but like a slow, suffocating truth that had been waiting for a quiet moment to speak. At home that evening, I found a beat-up notebook from college. Inscribed in it were scribbles from my younger self. Dreams, values, warnings. One sentence underlined in red that struck me was, "Never exchange authenticity for applause." That one line broke me because that's exactly what I was doing. That week I started peeling the mask off. I stopped yesing my way into exhaustion. I had real conversations, not just brand-safe ones. I built boundaries, not to push people away, but to protect what mattered. I even revisited old passions, volunteering, writing, mentoring, all the things that once made me feel alive. And in doing so, I didn't burn my life down. I just reintroduced myself to it as I approached. My 30s, I learned a life lesson, and that came from a moment of truth from my 5th question: who am I when no one needs me? One erroneous belief of becoming successful is that you will always be needed. In my organization, I was the go-to guy, the reliable one, the helper in times of emergency. the one who booked the tables, planned the trips, checked in on birthdays. For my friends, but a weekend came, where for the first time in a long time, no one called, no crisis to solve, no work emergency, no friends spiraling at midnight, just stillness. And in that silence, a deep emptiness echoed louder than ever before. Not loneliness, but a loss of identity. I was in my feelings that weekend. In my meditation, I asked myself again, who am I when no one needs me? It came like a whisper. From my soul, not a question of sadness, but of truth. For so long I have tied my worth to my usefulness. If I wasn't needed, was I even wanted? If no one was clapping, did I even matter? These follow-up questions haunted my soul. The following weekend, I did something wild. I scheduled time for no one but myself. I turned off my phone for hours. No checking in. I made a list of things I enjoyed, not just what made me useful. I journaled about what I loved as a kid, music, sketching, running. I even joined a hiking group where no one knew who I was, and needed my input in organizing. Something strange happened. I felt free not because people stopped needing me, but because I stopped feeling needed to feel worthy. And as I progressed in life, I had dreams and life goals I had set for myself. My dreams were big. I told everyone, and myself, that I would make a move soon. And when they asked when, I told them that I was just waiting for the right opportunity, and that my job wasn't drowning my dreams, but it just not ideal. I kept telling myself I wasn't stuck, I was just being smart, playing it safe. But that night, staring at my fourth empty takeout box that week, the lie tasted worse than the food. It dawned on me that I have not been truthful to myself. The following thought kept popping up in my mind. What lies have I told myself for comfort? It hit me hard, not like thunder, but like an echo that had always been there. I just stopped pretending not to hear it. That my job wasn't stable. It was soul-numbing. That next year had become a hiding place I crawled into. That my dreams weren't unrealistic. I just got tired of trying to comfort myself with lies. And the worst lie? That I'm fine. I decided to break the cycle. Not all at once, but with brutal honesty. I listed every lie I have told myself in the past 5 years. I wrote the truth beside each one. No sugarcoating. Applied to a weekend course I'd avoided for 2 years, I started waking up earlier, not to grind, but to reset. I even left a sticky note on my mirror. Lies feel like safety. Truth feels like freedom. That one line changed everything. I once used to write spoken word poetry. I had ideas that rattled the room. My opinions made people uncomfortable, but opened their minds. But somewhere between wanting to fit into a high-performance work culture and being the agreeable guy in every friend group, I started turning my volume down. I stopped talking about social justice. I stopped mentioning the nonprofit idea I had in college. I even stopped writing entirely. Why? Because one time someone laughed, another time someone rolled their eyes, and over time, I got smaller. And just like that, the question hit me. What part of myself have I silenced to be accepted? It felt like a punch to my gut because the answer wasn't subtle. I knew I had smothered the bold version of myself, the one who challenged, questioned, and cared too much, the version that didn't fit into clean LinkedIn boxes or polished elevator pitches. I didn't just lose my voice, I gave it away. I made up my mind to correct the anomaly by starting journaling every day, not for content, but for truth. I began to write a piece about burnout and purpose, and shared it publicly. I joined a writing group under his full name, voice, and all. At work, I respectfully challenged a decision for the first time, and they listened. I stopped apologizing for caring too deeply, and for the first time in years, I felt heard by myself. After a while, I discovered that there's a cost to being accepted, but sometimes that cost is you. The world doesn't need your version of what's likable. It needs your version of what's real, So, here we are. Not at the end of the story, but maybe at the start of yours. Because sometimes the most powerful change doesn't begin with a plan. It begins with a pause, a moment of brutal honesty, a mirror you can't walk past. If you felt something in this video, don't scroll away. Sit with it. Ask yourself what you have been avoiding. And remember, your breakthrough won't come from pretending you're fine. It'll come from telling yourself the truth. Take 5 minutes today. Journal. Reflect. Because the life you want, it's on the other side of the questions you're afraid to ask. If this video made you pause, even for a second, please give it a like. It helps more people ask the questions that could change their lives too. Know someone silently struggling behind a smile? Share this with them. It might be the nudge they didn't know they needed. And if you're ready to start asking the right questions, subscribe to this channel for more content, because the real you deserves to be heard, seen, and finally set free.